This video I want to share my thoughts on lineage. This becomes a relevant topic because I hear this, sometimes people ask me, and then sometimes I hear about people speaking about lineage and things like that. This is in relation to the martial arts. To me, I like to compare what's going on with the martial arts with business and companies. And I think that when you look at businesses and companies, we all know about how businesses are run in companies. We're all familiar with it. And if we use that as like a foundational concept to understand what's going on with the martial arts, I think people will start to get a greater understanding of how things really should be opposed to how they are currently within the martial arts. I think that there's just a lot of corruption in the martial arts. Now, I use this as a statement all the time, to make an example. I tell people that ask certain questions about martial arts, I say that, hey, where is the authenticity in any of these titles, labels, ranks, or styles? A lot of times there really is no authenticity at all, because I'll tell people, like, literally, you could wake up tomorrow in the morning and say that, hey, I'm a Tai Chi master, and then, like, who's going to stop you from saying that? Or you could wake up the next day and say that I'm a karate master, who's going to stop you from saying that? Or you could say that you're a Kung Fu master, you could say that you're a Wing Chun master, you could say, you're a Kido master, Taekwondo master. Like, you could choose whatever label from the East and just claim that, and then nobody's going to stop you. There's really no way of, none of these labels are being enforced, These labels are not protected by the law. These labels are all coming from the East, and none of it is protected by the government, by the law. It's unregulated, it's uncontrolled. And anything that becomes unregulated and uncontrolled becomes heavily corrupted. So if you look at the Western labels that we use in society, and you say, you can't just wake up and say that you're a police officer, because that information can be verified, and you could be lying, you could be, exposed for lying, and trying to deceive people. You can't just say that you're a federal judge. You can't just say that, without that being verified. You can't just say that you work for the IRS without that being verified. You can't just say that you're a lawyer without that being verified. You can't just say that you're a medical doctor without that being verified. I mean, these labels are protected by the laws, and there's a certain certification process that people got to go through in order to obtain these sorts of labels. But when you use these labels from the East, even without the martial arts, even labels like yoga, I mean, like, who's going to certify yoga? Because these labels are coming from specific countries, like a label from, like Kung Fu is coming from China, Wushu is, coming from China, Wing Chun is China, Taekwondo is Korea, and you're basically using labels of which cannot be verified here in America. So that becomes one huge issue, So when it comes to lineage, people in a way try to use lineage as a way of verifying the authenticity of what they do. But if there is no foundation to authenticness, then how can anything be verified? Because there's no governing body, that has any sort of authority in America that's going to govern any of this. Now, when you got sporting industries, like, people can't just say, oh, I used to play for the NBA. I mean, that could be verified. You could verify whether or not somebody actually played for the NBA at a professional level. Just like people that say that, I graduated from a certain university, say Purdue University, that could be verified. That information could be verified. But I guess the thing about, even though I don't like the UFC, like that something like that essentially can be verified, because you could see, that this person fought in the UFC, so that in a way a lot of people seek towards that as a way of gaining some type of verification and recognition of getting to a certain level of their expression in combat. Just like somebody, could be verified whether or not they've been in Hollywood. And we all know about Steven Seagal and Van Damme and Bruce Lee, people that actually got into the doors of Hollywood. But when it comes to martial arts, like I said, like Taekwondo, who's gonna decipher who's an actual student of Taekwondo and who's not, and who's a master and who's a beginner. Same thing goes with Kung Fu and the Shaolin, and Wing Chun and Aikido and all these other labels. None of this stuff can be verified, and that's really the big problem there, is that there's no governing authority that's going to make sure, to protect these labels and these titles from corruption. So that is the foundational issue with any sort of ranks, titles, things like lineage. Is just really not relevant if there's no verification process. Like even companies, if you say that you work for Microsoft, that can be verified. I mean, that's an actual company, and there's a big company. They got money to protect their company. Even McDonald's. That could be verified if you claim that you work for McDonald's. I mean, there needs to be something that is an actual thing that can, that you could check to see if this is something that's actually, that this person's not lying and things like that. Like even people that join a gym, are you a current member of like Export or Anytime Fitness or the YMCA? Like those memberships can be verified whether or not it's current. And what does it take to have a membership? Well, you just got to pay your monthly dues, and that's all it is signifying. Other things that could be verified. Somebody that's a Navy SEAL, things like that could be verified. Somebody that's in the Marines, that could be verified. Somebody that's in the Army, that could be verified. Okay, so these are things that can be verified, but as I stated, when you got these labels coming from the East, there's no verification process, and that is really the main issue. As far as the way that I feel, people should claim the schools of which they're current with, like the schools that they're currently training under. So somebody claims that they're training in this school in FREDDIE'S Modern Kung Fu, then that can be verified through me. They could be training with me in a group, or they could be training with me privately, and that can be verified by me. Because I'm the owner of the school. And whether or not a person is at a certain level of development, that could be verified by me. Because I'm the one who's running the school. But as far as like people saying, oh, this is my lineage of Wing Chun, well, the thing is, who's gonna verify whether or not you're telling the truth or whether or not you're lying? And because something like Wing Chun has been created, a few thousand years ago, probably from some woman in China. She's not even living in America, and she died like hundreds or thousands of years ago. The problem is, where is the verification process of basically signifying that this person that's claiming Wing Chun is practicing according to the standards of the creator of that way, of that style, of that method. And really, when something has been passed along through so many thousands of years or hundreds of years, it just basically reinstates how much more difficult it is to keep it pure and to keep the expression something that is uncorrupted. It just increases the chances of corruption. When you got more things that are more current, that could be more easily verified, because it's more current. You got someone like Bruce Lee who died about 50 years ago. That's not, that's going to be very different compared to something like Wing Chun that's maybe like 2,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago. You know, you got something that happened about 50 years ago, and say somebody said, hey, you know, I trained with Bruce Lee. But then the person that's saying this might not even have been born when Bruce Lee was alive. So how could this person have trained with Bruce Lee if he wasn't even born at the time that Bruce Lee was alive? You know, and then you could already expose that lie. You know, this person said that, oh, I got certified by Bruce Lee. But then there's no document, there's no signature, there's nothing. You know, at least Danny Insano could say that, hey, you know, I was starred in this movie with Bruce Lee, and that could be verified. You know, that clearly could be verified. Chuck Norris could say that, hey, you know, I starred in the movie with Bruce Lee, that could be verified. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar could say, hey, you know, I was Bruce Lee's student and I starred in the movie with Bruce Lee, that could be verified. You know, things like, you know, Linda Lee could say that, you know, I was married to Bruce Lee, he was my husband, that could be verified. Shannon Lee could say, oh, Bruce Lee was my father, that could be verified. You see, information that's current, things like that could be verified. You know, but when you got these styles of people that create these styles and they died and they created this in another country and then they died hundreds or thousands of years ago, everybody and anybody could just go around and say that I do this, I do that, and this person taught me this and that. But then if none of that stuff could be verified, then what is the purpose to any of that? You know? The way I see it is that the reason why people use Lineage is that they're trying to use that as a source of credibility. You know, and I can understand that from a concept of business where, you know, if you work at Microsoft, you work at Google, you know, and you want to let people know that so then they could trust your judgment or you know, or basically acknowledge your skill level or your talent and skills in a certain, you know, area, then basically that might be a reason why you might advertise that you might hold a certain management position in a certain company. You know, somebody's like the manager of Walgreens, and then they'll be like, well, I'm a manager of Walgreens, and if that actually can be verified, then you could see that, hey, you know, this person is an actual manager, this person's been working for this many years, and this is the types of things that they know. You know, so that's what I see why people might want to use Lineage. People say, oh, you know, I learned from this lineage and Wing Chun, and they're trying to prove that what they're teaching is authentic, you know, according to the original. But it's just like it's stated, if the creator of the system died like hundreds or thousands of years ago, how can any of this stuff be verified, you know, by the original creator? You know, so a lot of times I see that a lot of this traditional stuff that's not well protected by law or whatever the case may be, a lot of it is extremely irrelevant because it's just all full of corruption. You know, so for me, I'm separated from all that. You know, because I'm not claiming Wing Chun. I'm not claiming any system. I'm not claiming Jeet Kune Do. I'm not claiming Wing Chun. I'm not claiming Chole Phut. I'm not claiming karate. I'm not claiming Aikido. I'm not claiming BJJ. I'm not claiming like judo. The only labels that I'm representing to claim is kung fu, and I'm going to the original meaning of kung fu, which is basically just like the discipline to better yourself. It's just kind of like kung fu just basically means like really hard work. You know, kung fu basically means like self-discipline. So basically, I'm claiming a label of saying that I work hard, and this is my way. Like, this is my expression of kung fu, my own expression. So what ends up happening is I'm claiming a label that is my label. It's like me saying, you know, my name. It's like saying, like, my name is Freddie Lee, you know, and then I'm representing myself. I'm not saying that, hey, you know, I am a disciple of Bruce Lee, and he, and then I need his approval in order to, you know, in order to basically pass on his teachings. I'm not doing that. And I'm not doing that with Wing Chun. I'm not saying, hey, Yip Man is the one who gave me permission to teach this style, the system to you. So, and then I'm trying to get, I'm trying to get approval, from Yip Man, that I have a deep enough understanding to share the teachings of which he shared with me. That's not what I'm trying to do. If that was the case, then I would have to refer back to lineage. If I'm trying to say that I'm passing on Bruce Lee's teachings, or that I'm passing on the teachings of Yip Man, or I'm passing on the teachings of Wing Chun, I would need to go through the explaining how this lineage, ends up being connected to me. But I'm not doing that. What I'm doing is I'm creating my own label. Like, this is my Kung Fu, Freddie Lee's Kung Fu, Freddie's Modern Kung Fu. This is my business label, and this is the label that I've claimed for my business, that's on record, official record, and with the city of Chicago. And then I even claim my own website, which is the only website out there, with FREDDIE'S.com, which is basically I own and operate. I got my own Facebook under my name, Sifu Freddie Lee, which is only mine, which is authentic to me. I got my own YouTube channel, which is, owned and operated only by me. Freddie's Modern Kung Fu, with the videos that I create, and I got my own Twitter account. I got my own LinkedIn account. I got, these sources that are leading directly to me and my business, and I'm creating my own. This is my way that I'm teaching. So I become the creator. I am the entrepreneur. I am the artist that ends up being put in a position where I can, if I want, certify other people to be knowledgeable and qualified enough to share a part of what I have to teach. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm liberated from any of this talk about lineage, because I'm not involved in that. And there's just so much corruption with that. Now, when I'm promoting my own brand, my own name, my own business, my own creations, it becomes all over my shoulders to prove myself, to prove my worth, to build my own reputation. Because, Bruce Lee worked really hard to build his own reputation, and through his hard work, people know about Yip Man. People know about Wing Chun. But if it wasn't for Bruce Lee, people wouldn't know about Yip Man. People wouldn't know about Wing Chun. At least people in America wouldn't. They wouldn't know about Danny Insano. A lot of people might not even know about Chuck Norris. Like, people wouldn't know about these people if it wasn't for Bruce Lee, or even Sammo Hung. And like, or like people like Bolo Young. Jackie Chan might not even have been famous if it wasn't for Bruce Lee. So Bruce Lee created a name for himself, which led towards basically he gained fame for himself, and then he basically was able to pass this fame on to other people. Because without Bruce Lee, people wouldn't care about who Linda Lee is. People wouldn't care about who John Little is. People wouldn't care about who Brandon Lee is or Shannon Lee. It was all because of Bruce Lee's hard work that got them recognized and gave them fame as well. And basically, like, that's what I'm trying to do for myself, is to build my own name, build my own brand, build my own respect. Now, it's a step-by-step process. It doesn't happen overnight, but I'm willing to put in the hard work. You know what I mean? Like, I started this school from scratch. I had no place to train people. Started to train people out of my basement, and then eventually I started to, invest and build upon a commercial, real location. And I have one now, and I always start off with one student, and now I got more than one, and slowly building on that. You know, before I had no uniforms, now we got uniforms. Before I had no equipment, now we got equipment. You know, before I had no YouTube channel, now I got a YouTube channel. Before I had no subscribers, now I got more than one subscriber. You know, before I had no views on YouTube, now I got more than one view. Before I had 0 friends on Facebook, now I got more than one. It's like a slow process of development. And every day that goes by, I might get one extra subscriber. Every day that goes by, I might get one extra view on one of my videos. And it's just a slow process of developing and creating my own following, my own group of people that want to support me, that want to help me build my own name, you know, and build and become recognized. And once I get to a certain point of where I am recognized, then I could be put in a position where I could get recognition for other people that are talented, just like what Bruce Lee did. You know, because of Bruce Lee, we know about Brandon Lee, and then Brandon Lee, his son, started starring in his own movies. Because of Bruce Lee, you know, people know about Danny Insano, and then now Danny Insano has a huge following of his own students. And then he created, you know, then one of his best students, you know, Paul Vunak, ends up becoming recognized, and then Paul Vunak has his students and they become recognized. It's just, it becomes like a domino effect. Bruce Lee hits one domino and the rest start falling down along suit, and that's kind of what happens with fame and recognition. And that's how you build as far as something that is authentic today. You know, it's not about, to me, it's not about lineage. It's about, you know, creating your own way. But it's not for everybody. You know, not everybody could do what Bruce Lee did and get into Hollywood. You know, sometimes it's better to work under somebody else who's a great leader. You know, rather than being Jesus Christ yourself, sometimes it's good to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. You know, rather than being a Buddha yourself, sometimes it's good to be a disciple of Buddha. You know, I just so happen to be on my own. There's nobody that's above me that I have to get permission from or anything. You know, if anything, I always refer people to the sources of Bruce Lee's writings, his books, his movies. I refer people to Osho and Lao Tzu, but these are all dead people. I've never met any of these people face to face. None of them ever certified me to continue on their teachings, but I have my own understanding, you know, and my own way that I'm teaching. And yeah, I do not have a following like Bruce Lee. I do not have a following like, you know, Floyd Mayweather. I do not have a following like Muhammad Ali or Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or LeBron James, or, you know, I do not have a following like Wing Chun, you know, the creator of Wing Chun. I do not have a following like Yip Man. I do not have a following like, you know, Brandon Lee, Shannon Lee. I do not have that type of following, but it's okay. I want to put in my own work to build my own following. You know, Bruce Lee might have, you know, hypothetically say he has 1 billion fans out there, you know, that are supporting his work, and say I got 1 fan. Well, I'll just build from 1. That's okay. I don't need to steal anybody's stuff in order to try to gain recognition for myself. You know, it's like stealing somebody else's music that somebody else created and saying that you created it. I think that's very, you know, it's not respectable. Like the music that you create yourself, it might not be popular, but at least you created it. It's your stuff. It's original to you. And that's the thing, you know, whatever I am sharing is original to me. You know, these are my original teachings. You know, and it's like I'm building my own reputation. And so, specifically for my situation, lineage does not apply. I am the founder. There's no such thing as a lineage for me. You know, for other people there might be. You know, for people that are studying under me that want to gain recognition for passing on part of my teachings, they need to be verified by me, because I am the source. And if they lie then they're exposed. Say somebody says that they trained with me for 10 years, but then I don't even know who this person is, then clearly they're lying. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that can be verified immediately. All you gotta do is just contact me. It's like somebody that says that they're they're working for the FBI, and then they're lying. Like you call up the FBI, or you go on their you go through their database and you don't find this person anywhere. Then obviously they're lying. So it's like my company, my business, my school is not a big school, but at least it's something that's there, that's real, and I created it, and it can be verified, and I'm starting something new. And I know people love to get into what's big, claim what's popular. People be like, hey, they might try to say that they're like a black belt in Krav Maga or whatever. But the thing is, this is who said that they truly are? Who actually created Krav Maga? And did that person actually give permission for this person to claim that they're a black belt? Another question is there even such a thing as black belts in Krav Maga? Like, it's just people like to claim labels of which they don't own, they never created themselves, and they just like to milk off of other people's hard work and other people's reputation without putting in the hard work themselves. Like if I got a student that's been training with me for 20 years and he starts to claim my label, that makes sense because he's been training with me for 20 years. And if I have a liking to this student and they are representing according to my standards, then I will verify their level of development or what their levels of achievement under my guidance. But people, just because they watch my videos, it doesn't mean that they've trained with me directly and they've received recognition that they've achieved to a certain level of which they could pass on a part of what I teach. If anything, they're not qualified in doing so because they haven't met through the verification process that's necessary from the creator. But they could easily share the video of which I created. That's like somebody that lets you borrow a Bruce Lee DVD. You could watch it for yourself. You could watch the interview yourself. Opposed to that person saying, oh, this is what Bruce Lee taught me and I'm going to teach you now. No, it's like, I don't need you as a corrupted filter, which is going to pollute the truth that's trying to be transmitted. I'll go directly to the source. So just give me the original copy of the interview and I'll watch it myself and I'll make my own, conclusions. So anybody that's claimed themselves to be a disciple of any great leader, they really need the approval of the great leader in order to signify whether or not they are sharing according to the standards of that great leader. If the great leader is not alive, then essentially you need to stick to the original teachings from that great leader. So we're talking about teachings directly from Bruce Lee's movies, Bruce Lee's books that are original to him. We're talking about Osho direct interviews and direct videos from Osho, direct teachings and writings from Osho. We're talking about like a direct transmission. We're not talking about, oh, this person claims to be Bruce Lee's disciple, but then they're teaching the complete opposite of what Bruce would have taught you, if he was alive. So essentially, you're not following you're not following Bruce's way anymore. You're following this person that claims himself to be a disciple of Bruce, that's teaching the opposite of what Bruce would have taught. and then you're not really Bruce's disciple. You're the corrupted disciples, the corrupted disciple, former disciple of Bruce. You're his disciple, you know, and that's when it starts getting sticky. Like basically, the founder really has to be alive in order to kind of verify any of the stuff that's going on. But as soon as he passes away, you need to stick to the original sources, the original teachings. Unless the great disciple builds a name for himself, and then he pretty much proves to you that he's also worth following. Not just the main creator, but this great disciple is also worth following as well. So that's like a Lao Tzu, and then a Lei Tzu, and then a Chang Tzu. That's like a Socrates, and then a Plato. Okay, that's like a Bruce Lee, and then a Brandon Lee. Okay, that's like a Floyd Mayweather Sr. and then a Floyd Mayweather Jr. Okay, it's like when these things can be verified, and you assess a person's talent for who that person is, then you could have multiple teachers of whom you will allow to help guide you towards the way, and you gotta be intelligent about it. But this whole thing about the lineage thing, I think there's just a lot of people out there that are not talented themselves, that are just using lineage as a cover-up of their ignorance, a cover-up of their lack of skill, lack of knowledge, lack of training, lack of talent, that they're not even qualified to teach at all. And then they're trying to teach using lineage as a way of as a masquerade, just hiding the fact that they should not be teaching. I feel that a lot of people that use lineage as a way to convince you that they are worthy of teaching you are the people that essentially should not be teaching. They're not qualified to teach. A person that is truly qualified to teach does not need lineage. He's just basically himself, and you see the value right before your eyes. There's no need for lineage because it's right before your eyes. The person is right there that's extremely capable, and there's nothing that needs to be verified because they're right before your eyes. You know what I mean? Like, they are the source. And these are like the true artists out there, the true creators that's created their own names. Just like Tupac has his own name. Prince had his own name. Michael Jackson had his own name. Michael Jordan had his own name. Mike Tyson his own name. Floyd Mayweather his own name. Muhammad Ali his own name. Bruce Lee his own name. Jackie Chan his own name. Jet Li his own name. Tony Jaa his own name. Like, everybody creating their own, their own way. But it's just that the people that haven't gotten to a level of recognition end up having to kind of use these big names in order to justify a following for themselves. Because it's something like a Bruce Lee, and the only reason why people know about Danny Sano is because of Bruce Lee, and the only reason why people know about Paul Vunak is because of ultimately Bruce Lee. So it's like Paul Vunak, Danny Sano, Bruce Lee. It started from Bruce Lee as the source. And it's like, when you put in the hard work to build your own name, you might not have that much of a following, but at least that's your own effort, and you didn't steal that from anybody else. It's all you. But there's just a lot of people stealing recognition and fame out there, like they're stealing money, but then they're not really talented themselves. I mean, because honestly, in my opinion, I don't see much of any talent coming from Shannon Lee, but she happens to be Bruce Lee's daughter. But then it's like, where is the talent? I saw talent in Brandon Lee, but not Shannon Lee. But that's my opinion. That's like President Obama. You know, people know about him, you know, because he's the president. The only reason they know about Michelle Obama is because of Barack. And the only reason his children are known is because of Barack. But just because Barack is the president doesn't necessarily mean that all of a sudden Michelle Obama is extremely intelligent as well, or qualified, or even their children are intelligent and qualified. It doesn't, you know, fame could be passed on to other people, but talent and skill can't be passed on so easily. You know, you can't just, Bruce Lee can't just touch somebody in the head and all of a sudden they're a true martial artist. It doesn't mean that all of a sudden, you know, they're the most athletic person in the world. You know, Floyd Mayweather might have thousands of friends, but it doesn't mean that all his friends are going to be talented like him. You know, he might have like over 10 kids. It doesn't mean all his kids will be as talented as him. Talent and skill can't just be passed on so easily. Fame can be passed on easily. You know what I mean? Like Will Smith, and then all of a sudden his son, famous immediately, Jaden Smith, stars in a movie like at the age of 10, whereas people work their ass off until the age of like 100 to try to get in one movie and they can't do it. And here he's born and he's already just thrown into Hollywood. Fame could be just distributed, like money could be distributed. But true art and true skill and talent, it doesn't work that way. You know, so that's the thing that I wanted to get people to understand. You know, and that's my whole, those are my thoughts on Lineage.